Hey everyone, and welcome to a deep dive into Atomic Habits by James Clear.
Glad to be here.
Our listener is really interested in the nuts and bolts of this book.
Yeah, for sure.
Like, what are the tools and strategies that really make it work for building better habits?
Yeah, Atomic Habits is all about understanding those tiny changes that can lead to big results.
Right, it's not about like a huge overnight transformation or anything.
Yeah, exactly.
It's more about consistency
Consistency.
and making these small adjustments.
Yeah, and one of the key takeaways is this idea of atomic habits.
Okay.
These small changes like atoms
Uh-huh.
that compound over time
I like that.
to create significant shifts.
It's like that analogy Clear uses about the British cycling team.
Oh, yeah, that's a great one.
They made all these tiny 1% improvements.
Across the board.
From the pillows their athletes were sleeping on to the tires on their bikes.
Yeah.
And then they ended up dominating the Olympics.
Exactly.
So it really goes to show you that these tiny tweaks can lead to extraordinary outcomes.
On the flip side, he also talks about what happens when you decline by just 1% every day.
Which doesn't seem like a big deal.
Not at all, but over a year, that would reduce your performance to nearly zero.
Wow.
So it shows how habits can work for you or against you.
So how do we make sure that they're working for us?
Well, one of the big things in the book is the 4 laws of behavior change.
Oh.
It's a framework for making good habits inevitable and bad habits impossible.
I like that. Let's break down those laws.
All right, so the first one is make it obvious.
Okay.
It's all about cues and triggers in our environment.
So like if I wanted to start meditating every morning, I might put a meditation cushion in my living room.
Exactly. You're making the habit obvious.
Got it.
So that's the first law.
Okay, what's the second law?
The second law is make it attractive.
Uh-huh.
You want to link those desired actions with pleasure.
I see how these are all kind of building on each other.
Yes, they do.
Okay.
For example, if you want to make exercise more appealing, you might try temptation bundling.
What's temptation bundling?
You pair your workout with something you enjoy, like listening to a podcast.
Okay, that's a good one.
That makes it more attractive.
I like that.
And then the third law is make it easy.
Okay.
You want to reduce friction.
So like if you want to cook more at home, you might pre-chop your veggies
Exactly.
at the beginning of the week.
Yeah, remove
Yeah.
those obstacles. Make it simple.
Love it. What's the fourth one?
The fourth law is make it satisfying.
Okay.
And this is all about rewarding yourself.
Okay.
Even for those small wins,
Uh-huh.
you want to reinforce that positive feedback loop.
Like using a habit tracker
Exactly.
so you can like check off your progress.
You got it.
Okay, so that's a great foundation.
It is.
What else is there?
Well, he also talks about this concept of identity-based habits.
Okay.
It's not just about changing our actions, it's about shifting our beliefs.
So instead of like wanting to lose weight,
Right.
you're like, I'm a healthy person.
It's aligning your habits with the person you want to become.
Okay.
It's a real mindset shift.
That's interesting because I know I've tried to build habits before.
Yeah.
And I've tried to just force myself to do them
Right.
without changing like how I thought about it.
And how'd that work?
Not very well.
Yeah, willpower alone can only get you so far.
It's exhausting.
It is. That's why identity-based habits are so powerful.
So how can someone start to cultivate those identity-based habits?
Start by asking yourself some questions.
Okay.
Like, who is the type of person who achieves the goal I'm striving for?
Okay.
And what habits does that person embody?
So like if I want to be a more productive writer, I might say, what are the habits of a productive writer?
You got it.
Okay.
And then you start incorporating those habits into your life.
Okay, cool. So you're building that self-image brick by brick
Exactly.
with each habit.
Now, another key concept he emphasizes is the habit loop.
Yes, I've heard about this one.
You have.
Tell me more.
Okay, so it consists of 4 stages: cue, craving, response, and reward.
Okay.
It's this cycle our brains go through constantly.
Give me an example.
Let's say you're trying to break the habit of checking your phone all the time.
Oh, yeah.
So the cue might be that feeling of boredom or stress,
Oh, yes.
which triggers the craving for distraction.
Yeah, my hand just goes right to it.
Yeah, exactly. And the response then is picking up your phone and
Uh-huh.
scrolling through social media or whatever.
And then the reward is that hit of dopamine.
Exactly, from those notifications and that engagement.
So by understanding that loop, we can kind of manipulate it,
You got it.
right? Like change our responses to cues,
Yes,
manage cravings, even adjust the rewards.
absolutely.
So it's like a superpower.
It gives you so much control over your behavior.
This is great. I
Yeah.
love all this stuff.
Good.
We've covered the power of atomic habits, the 4 laws of behavior change,
Yes.
identity-based habits, and the habit loop.
It's a good start.
I'm excited to hear what else there is.
Well, there's a lot more. We're going to dive even deeper after a quick break.
Stay with us.
Welcome back.
I'm ready for more.
All right, so we were just talking about the habit loop.
That cycle of cue, craving, response, and reward.
Exactly. And understanding that loop is so important for changing our habits.
It helps us to, see those patterns.
You got it. Those automatic patterns that we might not even realize are driving our behavior.
It's like bringing those subconscious routines to the surface.
Yes. And one of the best ways to change those habits is by changing our environment.
Oh, yeah, I remember that from the book.
Yeah.
He calls it environment design, right?
It does. It's this idea that we're not always battling willpower.
Right.
It's our surroundings that are kind of nudging us towards certain choices.
So instead of blaming myself for, not having enough discipline,
Right.
I need to look at my environment.
Exactly. And see if it's setting you up for success or failure.
Like if I'm trying to eat healthy,
Yeah.
but my pantry is full of junk food,
It's going to be hard.
I'm constantly being triggered.
Exactly. You're setting yourself up for a challenge.
I'm like, why do I have no willpower?
Right. It's not about willpower. It's about making those good choices easier and those bad choices harder.
So get the junk food out of the house.
Exactly. If it's not there, you can't eat it.
Or if I want to read more,
Yeah.
I could make a little reading nook.
Oh, that's a great idea.
Yeah, with a comfy chair.
Make it inviting.
Yeah.
And then you're more likely to spend time there.
And a stack of books.
Yes. And good lighting.
Of all things.
Set yourself up for success.
And that doesn't just apply to our physical spaces, right?
No, it applies to our digital spaces too.
Oh, yeah.
Think about all those notifications and alerts.
Oh, my gosh.
They're constantly distracting us.
It's a never-ending stream.
It is.
So how do we apply that environment design idea to our digital world?
Well, one thing you can do is turn off those non-essential notifications.
Yeah.
That'll create a more focused environment,
Less distractions.
less distractions. You can also be strategic about the apps you keep on your home screen.
So, put the apps that support my goals front and center.
Exactly. Prioritize those things that are going to help you move forward.
So not social media.
Well, it depends on your goals.
Do?
But for most people, yeah, that's probably a good idea.
Okay, so I need to be more mindful of how my digital environment is affecting me.
We all do. It's so easy to get sucked in.
So easy.
But we have the power to change it.
And speaking of feeling out of control,
yeah.
there's a concept in Atomic Habits called the 2-minute rule.
Oh, yes, that's a great one.
Tell me about it.
It's a super simple strategy for making new habits easier.
We like easy.
We do.
Okay.
So basically, you want to scale down that new habit to something that takes 2 minutes or less.
So instead of trying to run for 30 minutes,
Yeah.
I might just put on my running shoes
Yeah.
and walk outside for 2 minutes.
Exactly. Or if you want to write every day, just commit to writing one sentence.
It seems too simple.
I know, but it works.
Wow.
It removes that intimidation factor.
Right.
Makes it less overwhelming.
There's no pressure.
Exactly.
Uh-huh.
You're just showing up and taking that first step.
But once you take that step,
You've broken the inertia.
you're more likely to keep going.
Exactly. You
Yeah.
might just write that one sentence, but then end up writing a whole page.
I see.
The 2-minute rule helps you build momentum.
Okay, I like this one.
Yeah, it's a good one.
It's practical.
And it's all about making those habits more automatic.
Like they're just part of your routine.
Exactly. Less effort required.
I like that.
And speaking of making things automatic, James Clear also talks about the power of shaping our environment.
Oh, yeah, we touched on that earlier with environment design.
We did, but it's so important. It's worth repeating.
Okay,
He calls this environmental design.
okay.
And it's all about making good habits easier and bad habits harder.
So proactively setting myself up for success.
Exactly. You got it.
Okay.
Because willpower is a finite resource.
Yeah, it runs out.
It's much easier to just change your environment than to rely on self-control all the time.
That makes sense because it's so much easier to resist temptation when it's not staring you in the face.
Exactly. Out of sight, out of mind.
So if I'm trying to eat less junk food, I should keep it out of the house.
Yes, put those healthy snacks front and center.
Okay.
Make them easy to grab.
And if I want to spend less time on social media, I can log out of my accounts.
Yes, or even delete the apps.
Ooh, that's a bold move.
It is, but it can be really effective.
These are all great tips.
They are, and there's a ton more in the book.
I can't wait to read them.
One technique he talks about is commitment devices.
Okay, what are those?
They're basically ways to lock yourself into a certain course of action,
Okay.
so it's harder to back out.
Okay, give me an example.
Okay, let's say you want to save more money.
Okay.
You could set up an automatic transfer from your checking account to your savings account each month.
That's a good one.
So the money's saved before you even have a chance to spend it.
I like that it takes the decision-making out of it.
Exactly. And if you're trying to cut down on screen time, You could use an app that limits your access to certain websites or apps.
Oh, like during certain hours?
Exactly. Or if you want to get more sleep, you could set a bedtime alarm.
That reminds you to start winding down.
That's right.
These are all great ways to outsmart myself.
They are. We all need a little help sometimes.
So in addition to starting small and shaping our environment,
Yes.
Atomic Habits also talks about automating good habits.
It does. And this is all about making those positive behaviors happen on autopilot.
Ooh, I like that less brain power required.
Sure, exactly. So you don't have to think about it.
So how do we automate our habits?
Well, technology can be a big help here.
Okay.
Think about all the apps and devices we use. You can program them to support your goals.
Like fitness trackers that remind you to move.
Exactly. Or you could set up your smart speaker to play your favorite workout playlist at a certain time.
Oh yeah, so it's like a little nudge
It is.
to get moving.
And don't underestimate the power of those simple one-time changes.
What do you mean?
Like if you want to drink more water,
Mhm.
just buy a bigger water bottle.
I've noticed that I drink more water when I have a bigger water bottle.
It's true.
It's those little things that can make a big difference.
It's all about removing those obstacles.
Exactly. Make it easy on yourself.
I'm realizing how much potential there is to shape our lives
There is.
by paying attention to those little details.
You got small changes, big results.
This has been amazing.
It has.
We've covered so much.
We have.
From the habit loop to environment design to the 2-minute rule and now automation.
We're on a roll.
What's next?
Let's take a breath, and then we'll dive into the next layer of insights.
All right, so where do we go from here?
Okay, so we've talked about the 4 laws of behavior change,
Mm-hmm.
environment, design, automation.
It's amazing how those little tweaks can really add up.
They really can. It's that compound effect in action.
Okay, so what's the next piece of the puzzle?
Well, there's one more crucial element that we need to talk about.
Okay, I'm all ears.
It's the importance of making habits satisfying.
Because if a habit's not satisfying, we're not going to stick with it.
That makes sense.
Our brains are wired to seek pleasure and avoid pain.
Right, so we want those good habits to feel good.
Exactly. We want to make them rewarding.
But sometimes those good habits like exercising or saving money,
Yeah,
they don't feel good right away.
that's the problem. They often have delayed rewards.
So how do we make those good habits feel more satisfying in the moment?
That's the big question, and Atomic Habits offers some great solutions.
Okay, like what?
Well, one technique he talks about is habit tracking.
Oh, yeah, I've heard of that.
You have.
What is it exactly?
It's basically just keeping track of your habits.
So like marking it on a calendar
Exactly, or using
Okay.
an app or creating a visual chart.
so you can see your progress.
Yeah, you make it visible and tangible,
Okay.
and that can be really motivating.
Why is that?
Well, there's something powerful about seeing those check marks or those bars on your chart filling up.
Like you're making progress.
Yeah, it gives you a sense of accomplishment.
Like a visual pat on the back.
Exactly, and that reinforces the positive feedback loop.
Okay, so well,
Another great technique is temptation bundling.
we talked about that earlier.
We did.
Pairing something you want to do
Yeah,
with something you need to do.
exactly.
Yeah.
It's a great way to make those less enjoyable tasks more appealing.
Like I can only watch my favorite TV show while I'm on the treadmill,
That's a great example.
turning a chore into a treat.
Exactly. Or you could only listen to your favorite podcast while you're doing the dishes.
Ooh, that's a good one.
So you start to associate those mundane tasks with something you enjoy.
It's like tricking my brain.
It is, in a good way.
This reminds me of how Atomic Habits talks about the link between habits and identity.
Yes, that's a crucial point.
It's not just about wanting to be healthier or more productive.
Right.
It's about seeing yourself as that person.
Exactly. You have to believe it.
So I need to see myself as a healthy person.
Yes. And as you start to act in accordance with that identity, those actions will reinforce your beliefs.
So it's like a cycle.
It is a positive feedback loop.
The actions shape the beliefs, and the beliefs shape the actions.
Exactly. So if you consistently make time for exercise, you start to see yourself as someone who prioritizes their health.
Okay.
If you regularly write, you begin to identify as a writer.
Those little actions add up.
They do. They shape our self-perception.
So it's not just about willpower.
It's not. It's about becoming the type of person who naturally embodies those qualities.
That's powerful.
It is. And here's another great insight from Atomic Habits.
Okay, tell me.
James Clear says that we don't rise to the level of our goals. We fall to the level of our systems.
What does that mean?
It means that goals are important,
Okay.
but it's our systems that actually determine our progress.
Our systems.
Yes, our daily routines, our habits.
Okay.
So it's not enough to just set a goal of losing weight or writing a book.
Right.
You need to create systems that support those goals.
So like if I want to eat healthier, I might start meal prepping.
Exactly. Or keeping healthy snacks readily available.
Or having a list of healthy restaurants.
That's a great idea.
So I'm not tempted to just order takeout.
Exactly. You're setting yourself up for success.
By building those systems.
Exactly. You're removing the friction.
Making it easier to make those good choices.
And that's what Atomic Habits is all about.
Giving us the tools to design our lives.
In a way that supports our growth and well-being.
This has been such an insightful deep dive.
It has. We've covered a lot of ground.
From the 4 laws of behavior change to the habit loop to environment design.
Yeah.
Habit tracking temptation. Bundling the importance of identity and the power of systems.
So many great takeaways.
So many. And they're all so practical.
They are. You can start implementing them today.
Exactly. And remember, it's not about making big changes overnight.
No, it's about those small, consistent actions.
That over time can lead to amazing results.
That's right. So pick one habit you want to work on
Okay.
and start applying these strategies.
Trust the process
Be patient with yourself
and celebrate those wins.
because you can do it.
The power to change your habits is within you.
Absolutely. Keep learning, keep growing, and keep striving to become the best version of yourself.